All right, good morning. We're going to be working on a little horse here that has lost her way, so to speak, lost her confidence. Her owner came off of her, I think a couple of years ago. Loose saddle, horse went left to right, saddle went over, and Kathy fell off. So it wasn't a bucking thing, but it kind of shattered the horse's confidence. And so we're going to do some things to start bringing that back. And so what we want her to do is learn how to be in complete control of herself. And so that will entail just, just doing a lot of different things with her that are going to cause her to have to think through a decision. And so anytime something is introduced to her that is kind of a stimulus, that introduction of that stimulus will be consistent until she stands still. Now, one of the things we look for through this process as a horse is transitioning is basically their top line and how they relax and drop their head through a circumstance rather than being arched and being on guard, so to speak. So I'm going to get a lead line and hook her up and start working with her confidence a little bit. So when things happen to this horse, when there's sudden movements around her, naturally she reacts to that and she becomes really unsure. So these kind of things are not something that you just do and all of a sudden the horse has confidence. You're going to build the confidence on the horse throughout the whole process. So the horse is the one that tells you how they're doing. It's not about a time thing or how long it takes before the things are good, but whatever time it takes is what time it takes. So when I start doing this, I'm going to start flashing this rope at her, around her. And what I'm looking for her to do is to be able to stand still. Now when she moves, I'm not going to try to hold her still, but every time that, and I'll kind of describe it as we go through it, every time she moves and stops her front feet and faces me, moves her back feet and faces me, there'll be slack in this line. I never want to hold her. The only purpose for the rope is to just be able to be tethered to her and work through these things. So I want her to be comfortable that when things like this are happening, that she realizes that she can ignore this. I don't want to use a tool like this to get a horse to go someplace. I want this to be a tool that tells a horse that they can relax. Now there's a slack in the rope when her feet moved over. And a couple of swipes of it after she stands still, then go to the other side. And we want to be able to get this done to the point that we can do this without any tether on the horse. Atta girl. So after she makes a decision to stand still, we give her a few moments. When she starts licking her lips or dropping her head or blinking her eyes or whatever she does, that allows her to just kind of take a breath. This is the point, I think, that the horse is actually learning something. It's not while we're doing something, but while she has a chance to just kind of digest this for a moment. So part of the process is the way that you restart the lesson each time is what's going to start to build her confidence. And this is important too, whether you're on the horse's back or on the ground. Atta girl. Now when a horse comes in for confidence issues, we've had it not on this horse, but on other horses, people will come in and say, this horse spooks a lot. Why don't you ride her and I'll show you what I'm talking about. And so I don't need to ride the horse, but a lot of times if we attempt to fix these things from the saddle, because that's where the issue happened, we're missing the whole point. The spooking is is not the problem. We want to get to the problem. The problem is, can the horse think through a situation and be confident in its own skin? So that when they spook, that's a symptom of a problem. It's not the problem. We want to make sure we understand that, so we're not trying to address something other than what we're after, which is the actual reason that they spook is because they don't have confidence in themselves. They don't feel like they can be in control of themselves, so they fall on that flight instinct all the time. Now when I turn her loose here in a few minutes, because she'll have the freedom, we'll start over again, but because she's been introduced to this concept, or this process, it typically should resonate with her pretty quickly, and she'll figure out that she can control herself by standing still. Now you notice the height of her head right now. Obviously that's an indicator of a concern, that she's kind of bracing herself. Even though her foot is cocked, her head is high, and what we'd like to see her do is feel like that when this is happening, that she can actually drop her head to whatever level she wants. But even an inch of drop is significant. There's a little bit of it right there. Now as I do this, I'm going to step back a little bit from her and see if that'll help her just relax a little bit. She came down a little bit. There, she's back up again. That's better. There's a little bit licking and chewing. And now I'm going to cut her loose, and we'll start this process over again without any attachment to her. See how she does. Now, I don't want to walk right back into her and start doing it again. I want to kind of let this whole thing dissolve itself so she can get something else on her mind. Then I'm going to come back in here to her and see if she has any stability in her mind. That a girl. Good for you. That a girl. Okay, now, the next thing I start doing is twirling this rope and see if we can find our way back to her thinking through the process that she can relax and stand still and control this emotion. This is a point where I'll probably wear my arm out before she just thinks about something. There she goes a little bit. So she gives me a focus and I back away, but the twirling doesn't stop. Good girl. Now every movement that the horse makes, I want to take advantage of that movement and change what I'm doing. So if I walk off and she starts to make a decision with her back feet, if I stop, there's some kind of a association. Well, I did that and he did that. So she can start to put the pieces together about that she can control me a little bit. That a girl. So right there, she's got a little bit of her head tipped away from me. We'll see if it'll come back. There's a deep breath. Now I'm going to start off and walk away from her in a moment. I'd like to see that. There she comes, right there. So now I'll walk away and see if she'll hook up. Your head away. Take one step over and see if it'll come with me. That a girl. Good job. Okay, now we'll start on the other side. May not be as good. We'll see. Atta girl. Good girl. Good girl. So every time that she brings her head slightly to me, I want to just take a step back and let her know that she can feel comfortable about this. Now she moved over and she stopped her front feet and take one step with her back feet. That's why I step backwards. And a girl. Just linger here for a minute and see if she has any change in her head level. There's a slight bit right there. When she looks away from me, I'm going to step over here a step or two, bring her head back. And when she looks away, it's important that I understand that she's turning away from me because she's trying to get comfort. She's standing there, but she's got to look away because she doesn't feel particularly comfortable. So I want to pay attention to what she's saying and not be so focused on what I want from her, but pay a little bit of attention, or a lot of attention, to how she feels about the process of reasoning through this. Atta girl. Atta girl. Good girl. Yeah. Good girl. Now, it's observation that her right side, she's a little bit more comfortable than she is on her left. I don't know if the saddle went off on her left or what the deal was, but now I go back to the first thing we were doing, pounding this rope, and see if she can get comfortable with that. There's a little bit. There's a little more. Atta girl. Good girl. Now I'm going to get rid of the rope and see what she does just with me doing a lot of body language, if that does anything to her. Atta girl. Good girl. And now she'll have a little quiet time, kind of think about this. We're going to go into the next thing, and each thing that I go through, I wouldn't go through unless I felt like she'd made progress on the previous thing. But this is going to be a cracking whip kind of, well, it's not going to start off with that. It's going to be just flailing this thing on the ground and so forth, and seeing how she adjusts to that. There's nothing that any horse wants more than to be relaxed. And I kind of feel like if I approach the horse to address the problem, I'm always dealing with the problem. But if I approach the horse with the things that it can and has accomplished, in other words, things that she knows she can do, I think the problem things kind of take care of themselves, unless we're so focused on the problem that we miss the whole point that problems, to solve a problem, have to have some place to start. And if we try to get to the problem, to the goal too soon, then we're going to miss the process of accomplishing a goal. And that happens to a lot of us when whether we're on the ground or in the saddle. we get so focused on what we want the horse to do that we disregard the process that it takes to get there. Atta girl. And remember, this is just a tether, and anytime that she offers slack in line, I want to not take that slack up. I want her to have that slack all the time, unless she's actually pulling away from me. Atta girl. Good girl. I think it's easy for us to want something so much that we expect the horse to do it because we want it to happen. And I think that we miss a big opportunity if we don't pay attention to what the horse is saying. We just force ourselves on this thing, on the horse, to get the job done, and we don't pay attention to the horse, of what they're trying to talking about, then we miss part of the purpose of this, which is about a relationship. And the relationship, I think, is the foundation for the progress. It's just about getting a horse to perform. You see a lot of robots out there, horses that will perform, but you watch them perform with their ears pinned on their neck. Atta girl. And we'll give her a moment to kind of think about this. Good girl. Yeah. Good girl. The horse has no way of knowing that this is something that means stand still. She's just going to try to protect herself and move away because she thinks that's the natural thing to do, and something like this is happening and step away from it. But we want her to get to the point that these things happen around her and she says, I don't have to pay any attention to that. That becomes her choice. Good girl. Now this lesson, as I mentioned in the beginning, is not a fix to the horse in this lesson. It's just a foundation for the fixing. So this lesson will go on until this horse absolutely has no worries about anything. Right there, she was standing still, and I just kept twirling, so she thought, well, maybe he wants me to move. So we just keep it going until she stands still the next time, and then we'll quit. Atta girl. Just as a reminder, these times of pause, in my opinion anyway, this is the point where the horse is actually learning, because she can actually think about what was just happening. But when a lesson just goes on and on and on, there is no, I don't think the horse learns nearly as well or as quick as they do when they have their pauses. Now the point is, when I started with this particular thing, the first thing I did was this. So going back to the starting point in a lesson is very helpful to the horse, because they develop some kind of confidence by being able to follow this issue, what I'm doing. And then we come back and start building on the other lesson where we do this around them. And so every time they have that reassurance that this first thing, they figured out how to feel good in that, So when you come back to it, they get a little bit better at feeling good about the next thing. So this lesson will go on until we have some of a foundation of process here where she feels like she can deal with this. And this is where we'll start all over again tomorrow and the next day and the next day until she just has just that confidence that she's in control of herself. That girl. Good girl. I have to remind myself all the time, just because I want the horse to relax in a given process like this, it doesn't mean that she understands that at all. So she has a lot of things that she has to kind of filter through and determine that what things are important, what things aren't. That girl. Good girl. Get a little bit more assertive with her. Right here at this point where she keeps walking is a place for me to want to think, oh gosh, I wish I could fix this, and I'll try to fix it for her, which is not the best thing for her. We need her to fix it herself. So that's where, particularly when you're doing something like this, you don't want to find yourself being so insistent on her progress, because this is her task, not my task. Her task is to make a decision. I can just stand here and ignore this thing. But if I try to fix everything for her so that she does that, she never gets to the point of making decisions. And this is a key part of the whole thing. So no matter how long it takes, just like that circle went on for quite a while, it has to be her decision to make that point, not me doing this. Here she goes again. So it'd be easier just to pull her around and make her stand still and keep doing this. And that would be effective, I think, probably to a point. But I want her to make that decision right there. And at the same time she stepped over, she dropped her head about an inch or so. Good girl. Okay, now we're going to leave her alone for a few moments. Come back offline and see how she can deal with it. And just like slapping the rope when she was offline, I just want to walk away from her and not come back and start addressing the problems, but start to build the thing so she can find her way back into it. And a girl. See, right here she's trying to block this decision, so we'll just see how long it takes for her to not block it and let me through here. Good girl. She's making some good choices right now. And a girl. Now we'll just change things up a little bit and see what happens here. Step back because her head went the other way. And a girl. Step back because her head went the other way and see how long it takes her to make a girl. This is a lesson that we use when we start teaching horses how to be comfortable with gunfire. Good girl. Atta girl. Now, as far as laying the line on her, I'll be doing that. Probably, I don't think I'll be doing that today, because if I can get her to really settle on this, if I start trying to go too fast to see what I can do, I'll find out pretty quickly what I can't do. And then I've got to come back and work on that and repair the damage that I did by going too fast. But if she can make these decisions like she's doing now, probably another session of this perhaps, and then we'll start laying the line on her so that she can deal with it, touching her and so forth. It doesn't mean that you can't do something like that. This is just a personal preference for myself. But I don't want to feel like I need to get to the next level. So she can get at this level, then I can go to the next level and have her not feel like she's being pushed into something. There. Atta girl. Good girl. Here's a bit of a block going on. Atta girl. Good. So when she makes a choice like that, then I want to take that lead instead of trying to push her. But if she's going to block this, we want her to. Atta girl. Good girl. All right. Okay. Well, that's about all we're going to do with her at this point. Got a lesson coming up here in about 30 minutes, so we'll let her be done with this. Appreciate it very much. This is for Kathy. So Kathy, I hope you got something out of this, and we'll do the next one tomorrow. Okay, take care.